April 27th, 2020. The time is approaching 1:01 p.m. This is a special meeting with our treasurer and folks generally concerned. I am calling this meeting to order. Attending are Commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Filios. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Okay, so we have one primary item and a potential action to go with it on the agenda, and it is the 2019 property tax penalties and interest guidance. I guess I'll start here just to try to paint the framework around this. We've had a couple of inquiries from largely small business people wondering if we could, as a result of the current COVID situation, provide some sort of a break, if not necessarily reducing, or for that matter, even canceling property taxes, potentially foregoing any penalties and interest if we decide to extend the necessary deadlines, if we even have the authority to do that, which I don't believe we do. But that's the purpose of this, and I guess it is a discussion. So I'm just going to open it up for any thoughts. Leslie?
I can start. And then Steve, please jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. But we have about 83,000 taxable parcels in the county. And it's estimated maybe around 20% pay their, higher than 20% pay their taxes in person instead of through mortgages.
It's probably closer to 60%. The number that I gave you a couple weeks ago
Okay.
is incorrect. It's probably 60%.
60.
Oh, 60% do not
Yeah,
pay
higher,
through mortgages.
right? Yeah,
Okay.
60% pay us directly?
yes.
Okay, so my concern is issuing a blanket order this early. We have a lot of 44 taxing agencies that are not necessarily in the same position as the county, and the county has 2 months of cash reserves. So you'd be talking school districts, Panhandle Health, highway districts that wouldn't be able to meet payroll if this blanket order was issued right now. And so for me, I would rather wait until June 30th when we know how many people were unable to make those payments and then address it like that. And if it's if it's a couple hundred, we could address it one by one, or if it's a few thousand, we could address it, in a blanket way. But I'm really, really concerned that doing it right now people would get the misunderstanding that they could just take their time and do this when it will cause even more mass layoffs in the county, not waiting.
Thoughts? Bill?
Yeah, I don't have any problem waiting, but my understanding of the statute, and this is where I look to you, legal for that, is we don't have the authority to en masse forgive interest and penalties. This is a case-by-case basis based on hardship. And it would have to be clearly defined that this is hardship based on the COVID virus pandemic, and they would still have to show, just like anybody else does who wants interest and penalties reduced or waived. And I don't think we're talking about thousands. I have no problem waiting, but I have a problem holding people's feet to the fire on paying the county if it really does in fact work a hardship.
I agree with your statements about the law and the legal requirement. And absent some order from either the governor or the legislature addressing this issue in particular, I don't believe that this board would be authorized to issue any kind of blanket forgiveness without an individualized showing of hardship.
Okay. So then I would suggest that we set up a meeting. Treasurer, what would you think would be a good time frame? I mean, we would know by June 25th, June 30th. What would be a good time to look at it? Or I guess maybe we don't need to meet at all and everybody just has to apply individually for hardship.
I would agree on that latter
Okay.
statement.
Okay. So,
Lori, did you want to comment? Can I ask you to just step forward, only so that we can pick it up on the mic? It's unfortunately, I know you're bashful.
It's kind of like a setup.
No, it's not a setup. This is a setup.
Oh, yes, it is.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the chance to be able to comment. I appreciate Councilman Ferguson's recommendation because I, too, support a hardship process. The county, since I've been here for 20 years, is what we have utilized to determine whether or not constituents actually do have a justified need to take and do this. And we typically have used the process of it's a primary residence, it's an Idaho taxpayer, so you're going to need to be rethinking all of these different options as to you're going to expand this hardship process or not. So my recommendation would be to be looking at those, and I had offered I can help you with changing, you know, our application process if you need to do that. I'm happy to do that. Couple of other things that in response to just dealing with a blanket, or not a blanket, but just an open-ended waiver of late charge and interest. We have a lot of taxing districts that rely on that July receipt to make their payrolls and their bond payments. And I think that if you are out there at this point doing that, I think you're going to put a lot of our other taxing districts at risk.
Aren't they required to have 2 or 3 months operating funds by accounting standards?
I don't believe that happens, but I can't,
Maybe Steve knows.
You're looking at me. There are guidance issued by different agencies, but they're guidances. They're not mandated. And I'm not real familiar with all the different taxing districts, financial positions, but I'm not sure they're all going to abide by that 2 months of operating expenditures.
And the other thing that I'd like the board to keep in mind too is that we have a lot of property owners in our state that own properties in different counties. And the action that Kootenai may take may not necessarily be what Bonner or Shoshone or Ada. And so you could be having some adverse complications with that. Third thing that I'd like you to consider, and this is why I'm asking some of the questions about how you're looking at the setting up the hardships. We have different business scenarios, people that owe just maybe the second half of 2019, somebody that missed their December payment. These are all different things of how it's going to get processed, somebody that is 3 years delinquent in the system. These issues are all treated differently in how we process a cancellation. And so as you're formulating this process, we need to kind of be considering how you're going to manage those options. Is it all the property, you know, and so because some of it, while we have the security set up in our system, our tax and assessment system, that allows just one individual to make these changes to protect the integrity of the system. Some of it's going to require additional scripting work depending upon the circumstances of how you choose that you're going to apply this potential cancellation. And with the retirement of the IT programmer in July, some of that scripting is his specialty. So we need to also be cognizant of that as an issue for us going forward. So I applaud you for trying to put some I've been on record with the board of trying to put some common sense and feeling into this, but I'm hoping that you make sure that we consider all taxpayers fairly. As you all know, we've kept our office open by appointment only. And since the stimulus bills or the stimulus checks hit on the 15th, we've been pretty busy with people coming in and paying their second half taxes with their stimulus bills. So it's been kind of refreshing. They said, we've got it, and we want to make sure our taxes are paid. So I stand for any questions.
Any questions for Lori?
What would you like from us
Bring up
right?
Go ahead. Yes, just a couple other points. There are, that I know of right now, there are 8 entities within Kootenai County that have, I believe, 14 outstanding bond issues.
Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
So there's 14 bond issues that I know of. I don't
14?
know 14. And there's 8 issuers. So some of those issuers have multiple bonds outstanding. That doesn't include the urban renewal districts. I would make the assumption all, or most, probably have bond payments scheduled sometime in, at the earliest July, probably August. So that's gonna put them in quite a pinch if anything we do here has a significant ramifications of our collection process.
Okay.
And then, just to put a little bit more broad brush on it, I contacted about 20 minutes ago the president of the IACT, which is the Idaho Association of County Presidents. No other counties, as she is aware of, is contemplating any waiver of interest or penalties. She didn't tell me the specifics about whether they would entertain hardship process, which is, I think, where I'm going. There was no blanket conversation anywhere in the state.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Lori or for Steve, for that matter? The concern that I have, and this is, by the way, that was, for the benefit of everybody listening, that was Lori Thomas, Chief Deputy Treasurer. My concern is a logistical one. And I'm not saying this is the answer, in fact, I don't think it is, but is that if we take the typical hardship route that we're accustomed to, and we get inundated, shortly thereafter, here comes Board of Equalization, and we have no flexibility in moving that date. And I don't know, could we be inundated? Could we get hundreds of these that suddenly we have to deal with and rule on as commissioners, as a BOCC, on an individual basis? The answer is, I don't know.
I don't think there's a time frame, though. I think if we get 1,000 or 2,000 applications, we just hear them, maybe make a weekly meeting and just hear 10 a week, or, however that goes. So I'm not that concerned about that. We don't have a time frame like BOE. BOE has to be done
Yeah,
in that
BOE
time
has,
frame.
but even 10 a week would be a heavy load, especially as we go into budget season. I'm not suggesting there's an easy answer. I'm simply saying that we ought to be prepared because we may be confronted with this. Lori, please.
Commissioners, thank you. I agree, though, that to ensure that we are being prudent with our processes, that is the avenue that the county would want to go. And again, the hard part is going to be how you're going to set up those parameters. Is it every taxpayer? Is it only primary
Right.
residences? Is it all types of property? I mean, this is going to be new uncharted territory for you all as you're moving forward. But I think that to ensure the fairness aspect, which is part of your thing, is to make sure that we are doing that homework as much as what it takes your time. I can tell you as the individual that has to manually do all of
Absolutely.
this in the system, that I'm going to be hand touching each one as well.
Precisely.
And happily doing so if that's the process that we need to do. But I think that we want to make sure that we're being fair to all of our taxpayers and ensuring that those that have asked for it are warranted to receive it.
Chris,
And you're-
back to your comment about can we handle it?
Yeah, please.
I think we can probably handle dozens, but I fear that if it's hundreds or thousands, it's a pretty big lift.
And that's going
I
to,
don't know if we can do it.
and I think you're right. I think your point's well taken, Steve, and I think that would force us into a policy decision at that point, because there's probably no way we could logistically handle it. And also back to the point that was made earlier, which is the other 40% of taxpayers whose property taxes are rolled into their mortgage, can't help them. That's something they have to work out individually with the mortgage holder.
And that's why you want to make sure that whatever we're doing is fair.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, go ahead.
So Diane, did you have any comments? And I heard somebody else come on the line as well.
Yes, thank you, Diane Fountain here, Lakes Highway District. I agree with Steve and Lori Thomas that this could be opening a can of worms, and I would recommend waiting until after the tax bills are due before any determination is made on this to see what the outcome is on people paying their taxes that are due on June 20th.
Is there anyone else on the line? I guess it's just you, Diane. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Any other comments? Dave, I don't think a motion's in order here, is there?
No.
I didn't think
Doesn't sound like there's any action the board wants to take.
Okay, so I guess the general consensus, for lack of a better term, is that we wait until tax bills are due and see what happens thereafter and how things unfold as the economy continues to roll open. Anything else? Yes, Lori, please.
Hi, Commissioners, again, thank you. You had asked to how soon we would be able to make a determination, and I would think we'll probably have most mail posted. My hope would be the end of June, first week of July or so. But my thought is that commissioners are going to be hearing from individuals sooner than that. And again, if you're going to take the hardship route, it would be incumbent upon them to contact you to make that request. So I'm not sure what data you're looking to get quantified from us.
At this point,
Well, even in
Uh-oh.
that end of June period, because I'm not sure unless you were planning to reach out to somebody that I would think you would want people reaching out to you first.
Right, right. Yeah, so if anybody reaches out to us, we just say file a hardship application.
current process.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Any other questions? Public comment? 1:18, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Diane.
Thank you, Diane.